In WWE or in wrestling, there are a lot of secrets, especially in WWE, which is a company that can't stop creating content for even a second. WWE has a lot of secrets that you might have never noticed. And in this special video, I wanted to summarize 20 of them that have been mentioned in my videos. That's why I'll stop talking now, and today I'll present to you 20 surprising secrets of WWE Special Edition. Number 20. Self-blading. We saw how Triple H cut his own forehead and then tried to make us believe that his blood actually came from hitting the metal ring post. But honestly, I never really looked into how he did it or who he did it with. Did you know that? The referees have a lot to do with this, because for them to cut themselves, it's necessary for the referee to hand them a razor blade or a blade. For example, look at this. It happened at the pay-per-view event No Way Out in 2008. Look at how Jericho asked the referee for a sharp object to cut himself. You can clearly see the referee handing him something in his hand. A few minutes later, you can see Chris Jericho with blood on his face. In the Hell in a Cell match of 2009, John Cena versus Randy Orton had to use the blade for the same purpose, but in this case, it was Cena who had to use the blade to cut his face. But due to a miscalculation, the blade ended up falling to the ring apron and Cena lost track of it, so he couldn't start bleeding the way he wanted to. And finally the match ended. The worst part is that the secret of the blade was exposed to everyone because it was clearly seen falling to the side of the ring. Number 19. The referee's big role? You always think it's the superstars who know the tricks, the hits and misses of this business. And you end up almost completely ignoring the referee. But did you know that the referee is one of the most important people when it comes to starting a match? Since the Montreal Screwjob against Bret Hart, we know that referees are constantly aware of WWE's plans. The company puts its trust in them. Well, their role is precisely to see if the wrestlers, after a risky move, are in good condition to keep fighting. The gesture of the referee taking the hand of the wrestler lying on the ground is already well known, and if the wrestler squeezes the referee's hand twice, that means the wrestler is okay. Now, if the referee doesn't get any response from the wrestler who is on the ground, he must immediately and urgently call the assistants and the medical staff who are backstage. Number 18. Casket match. Casket matches have always ended badly, well, preferably worse for Undertaker than for any other superstar. But we all know that the dead man can't die again. But if we're talking about reality, many have wondered how Undertaker has managed to get out of the casket to avoid being burned afterward. Well, at the Royal Rumble in 1998, Kane faced Undertaker in a casket match. Remember that in this match stipulation, the superstar who manages to put their opponent inside the casket wins. But many haven't been satisfied with just beating their opponent. They've wanted to get revenge and go even further. Let's remember Kane at that same Royal Rumble event, or Randy Orton at No Mercy in 2005. How did the dead man manage to get away from those burns? Well, it turns out that every coffin has its secret side. They're always really close to the ring. And this is because the coffin has a compartment inside that opens up so that the gravedigger can go under the ring and wait there. Instead of being burnt in real life, he is the one who has to open and close that secret passage himself. Which many times, because of the quick camera shots, we can't even catch a glimpse of. Number 17. Sold out tickets. How many times have we heard the English commentators say that tonight's tickets for Raw are all sold out? Well, actually, this phrase isn't always true. WWE says this to make their shows seem bigger and to sell the world an image of great popularity, and to encourage people at home not to miss WWE. However, thanks to social media, we've been able to debunk these claims. Since fans upload photos of their fans who are on the other side of the camera, those fans who don't make it onto television. The years 2017 and 2018 were the worst years for WWE in terms of selling out tickets for their weekly shows. However, they often resorted to the tactic of saying that everything was sold out. Well, the sad truth about Vince McMahon's company in those years was that their weekly shows sold very few tickets. And what their commentators said at the beginning of each show were words quite far from reality. Let's also remember that the 2019 event Stomping Grounds had to put up black curtains and move fans from the higher seats down to the ringside area due to low ticket sales. Number 16, the long walk to the ring. The pay-per-view event Royal Rumble 2017 flipped the switch for this wonderful event as it moved the Royal Rumble from a regular arena to a massive stadium. However, during the entrances of all the wrestlers, we could see them running to get to the ring as quickly as possible. However, for some superstars, we only saw the beginning of their entrance and then saw them again when they were about to enter the ring. The heavier superstars were taken to the ring on a transport cart. This obviously was not shown to the fans on the screens, since while this superstar was heading to the ring, WWE was showing on their screens how the Royal Rumble continued, and they made us believe that Big Show, Strongman, and other wrestlers were getting to the ring as quickly as a superstar who was running in. A secret that, obviously, we wouldn't have known for anything in the world if it hadn't been for the fans present in the arena, who dared to record these entrances that we couldn't see. Number 15. The conversations. Many bold people have said that wrestling is fake, since they claim the hits are fake. And also, the results are already decided before they even step into the ring. Well, it's hard for them to understand that this is a show. For WWE to work properly, communication in the ring is necessary. That's why all WWE superstars, including the referees, keep a conversation going in every match. This is the new title. Look at Malerino. Conversations that are to ask if your opponent is okay, where the superstar lets their opponent know the next move that's coming. This is done smoothly in the ring because without the conversations or constant dialogue, maybe the matches wouldn't be the same, because many times WWE superstars don't have enough time to prepare a match beforehand and have to improvise in the ring how they're going to carry out the match. Number 14. Change of plans. WWE always has a plan B for everything. Yes, just like Triple H told Seth Rollins during the Shield's betrayal. Well, no, sometimes things don't go as expected. Let's remember the match where Chris Benoit was supposed to face CM Punk, and after his tragic fate, WWE had to replace Chris Benoit at the last minute and add Johnny Nitro to that same match. Well, these last minute changes can happen in any circumstance. Imagine that WWE gives you the big task of lasting 25 minutes in the Royal Rumble and you don't even last 2 minutes in the Battle Royal and get eliminated by mistake. Well, this case is real, and it happened to Alex Riley, who was eliminated by mistake from the Royal Rumble after not being able to hold on properly. Even John Cena himself couldn't believe that this wrestler had been eliminated. In fact, Cena himself tried to grab him as he was falling. Well, Alex Riley had an important role in these 25 minutes, and as part of this important task, he was supposed to eliminate 2 superstars. But how did WWE solve this problem? Well, fortunately, that Royal Rumble had 40 men, and number 37 was Santino Marella. And it was him who had to be in charge of delivering the new information from the production team, to inform his colleagues who they had to eliminate and how they were going to cover the absence of Alex Riley. Number 13. The Mystic Leap. Sin Cara had great promise when he arrived in WWE, and it was no coincidence that he became the face of the WWE 12 game for Latin America in Sin Cara's early years in WWE. We saw him leap impressively from the ground, jump over the top rope, and land on the ring mat. Well, this was only for the fans who watched his entrance on television, because seeing it live was something else. A cameraman's botch made everyone find out that Sin Cara would jump onto the ring from a mini trampoline. WWE tried to fix this mistake by editing this part for the weekly shows that were later broadcast in Latin America. But the North American and European fans who were watching the show live were able to see the big truth about this trampoline. Number 12. The promos. The segments in the ring are a fundamental part of helping to understand the rivalries and heating things up even more so that the feud keeps going. However, many people might think that the superstars in the ring just make up or improvise whatever comes to mind, but that's not the case. WWE is very strict about these things and asks its superstars to memorize no matter exactly what they want. That you say. Let's remember that years ago, the Extreme wrestler Sabu refused to memorize segments and promos. And as punishment for this action, he was pulled from the Elimination Chamber of the year 2006 at the last minute. Another clear example of this was when the fans noticed that The Rock had everything he had to say written on his hand. At another time, Roman Reigns forgot everything he had memorized. And John Cena threw some ironic words at him to tell him that he still had a lot to learn in WWE. But the clearest example happened quite recently when Tucker interrupted The Miz and Morrison backstage. And he had in his hand the paper with what he had to learn written on it. Wow, this makes it clear to us that being a WWE superstar isn't just about getting to the ring and fighting. Number 11. Blindfolded. At WrestleMania 7, Jake Roberts faced Rick Martel in a blindfold match. This match was replicated many times in WWE in the following years. But unfortunately for the fans, the idea that both wrestlers couldn't see anything at all ended up falling apart. When a huge mistake by a cameraman happened, he made a close-up shot of Jake Roberts' face where you could see how he was adjusting the sack on his head. At that moment, Jake Roberts was seen adjusting it with his hand to see better. Jake Roberts' hand can be seen behind the sack, and actually you can also see a black mesh. The truth is that camera shot didn't help Jake Roberts at all, and even less so WWE, since it ended up revealing the whole secret of this blindfold match. Unfortunately, ever since this mistake came to light, the fans have realized that blindfold matches are a total fraud. Number 10. The mystery under the ring. I think we've all wondered, how does Undertaker stay under the ring for so long? Or we've also wondered how he knows when to come out and what he does down there, waiting for his turn. Over the years, WWE has revealed the secret of how the superstars manage to stay under the ring. It turns out there's a monitor and headphones so the superstar can watch the show and stay in constant contact with the show's production team. WWE fans over the years have always wanted to confirm the mysterious appearance of The Undertaker whenever the lights went out. Over time, Bray Wyatt also used this technique. And in fact, even Randy Orton himself. So every time a front row fan sees a monitor under the ring, it's because a superstar will appear at any moment during the show. Number 9. WWE needs it until the end. For the same reason we were talking about the unexpected events, last minute plans, or Plan B. WWE asks all its superstars to stay until the end of the event, whether they have wrestled or not, because WWE always calls more wrestlers than are scheduled on the card. This is to make sure that if something happens at the last minute, they have an extra wrestler available. Because in WWE, everything can change from one minute to the next. At WrestleMania 26, it became public that Chris Jericho had to be sanctioned after leaving the arena following his match with Edge. Something that shouldn't have happened, since WWE and especially Vince McMahon told him that he couldn't leave the arena for anything in the world, because they needed him backstage until the end of the event. When Chris Jericho was asked about this, he said he regretted missing Shawn Michaels' last match. But he had tickets to see Paul McCartney that same night, so he had to leave the arena. No matter what. Number 8. The good sound of the ring. There are moments that happen accidentally, and WWE is professional enough to keep their mistakes from coming to light. And even less so on live television, where there's no chance to edit the mistake. Meanwhile, Michaels was facing The Undertaker at the Bad Blood event in the very first Hell in a Cell in history. Before the match began, Sergeant Slaughter, along with the referee, thoroughly inspected the Hell in a Cell to make sure there wasn't a third superstar who could attack Michaels or The Undertaker. While they were inspecting under the ring, Sergeant Slaughter's flashlight accidentally pointed at an amplifier. So did this confirm the theory that fans had back then, that WWE really did use an amplifier under the ring? All of this so that when a wrestler falls on the mat, the sound is even more impressive. Number 7. The cement trick. At the pay-per-view event called the Great American Bash, The Undertaker faced the Dudley Boys. If The Undertaker lost that night, his legendary manager, Paul Bearer, would be drowned in cement. Remember that Paul Bearer was inside a capsule waiting for the result of the match. When The Undertaker won the match, he went to his manager and finally told him that he didn't want to keep having him around either. Because of this, The Undertaker pulled the lever and ended up covering Paul Bearer with cement, burying Paul Bearer under the cement. But how did WWE make sure that Paul Bearer didn't die in the process? First of all of Paul Bearer's scenes were pre-recorded before the event, and during the entire match, WWE had a double inside the capsule. They never showed him from the front, and when they wanted to do it, they showed the scenes that Paul Bearer had already recorded before the event. The cement, by the way, was real cement, but they added oatmeal to it so its texture would look even more brutal. Paul Bearer's double had the ability to hold his breath for a long time, and it was said that he had won a Guinness World Record at the time. Paul Bearer's double was taken out of the capsule. As soon as the event ended, he was taken backstage and immediately stabilized by the arena's paramedics. Fortunately, everything was fine for him, but for the real one, things were even better. Paul Bearer. Number 6. The edited crowd. Currently, SmackDown shows are completely live and we can enjoy the action of the blue brand just like we enjoy the action on Raw. But it wasn't like that before. All the years that SmackDown was taped, WWE, we could say, was lying to its fans. This was because they changed the crowd reactions. In case you don't understand, I'm referring to the fact that they added sound effects depending on what they wanted to show. For example, Roman Reigns could be booed by the entire stadium, but in the version edited for WWE television, they would add sound effects of a real ovation for Roman Reigns. This became known thanks to many fans who attended the weekly SmackDown shows, and they could record the real reactions of the crowd with their cell phones, and they shared the videos with the real audio on YouTube. Number 5. The Fall into the Void. The 2020 Money in the Bank was held at the Titan Tower, and the event, I have to say, was pretty well received by the fans who understood all these changes due to the pandemic. However, The big moment of the night came when Baron Corbin apparently threw Rey Mysterio from the top floor of the Titan Tower into the void. Oh well, that's what WWE wanted us all to believe, but WWE didn't realize the small big mistake they made themselves. During the beginning and throughout the event, they showed aerial shots from the top floor of the Titan Tower where the ring was located with the money in the bank hanging. And it was because of those same aerial shots that we could notice that Rey Mysterio fell to a pretty safe place. In fact, you can see that there are some kind of inflatable mats so that Mysterio could land pretty well. But anyway, that was another bad move by WWE. Number 4. In commercials, WWE has made us believe that during commercials, the action keeps going in the ring. As Hugito Sabinovich used to say, while there are times when the action does continue during commercial breaks, it should be clarified that this happens when the commercial breaks are quite short. When the commercial time is longer than usual, the action stops. On some occasions, the lights are turned off and the wrestlers decide to rest, and the people in the arena are shown a pre-recorded backstage segment on the big screen. During the pandemic, WWE from the Thunderdome made a very serious mistake that only fans from certain countries were able to catch. Well, the television network didn't notify WWE's production team that they were already back on the air. And you could see how the female wrestlers were talking to each other and doing everything except wrestling. It was enough for WWE's production team to be told they were back on the air for them to start wrestling again and pretend they had been wrestling throughout the entire commercial break. Number 3. A fan's discovery. Fans in the last 10 years have been the ones who have shown us things through their cell phones. The truth is, many times we don't see things that we used to ignore, or at least we didn't even care to know about because we knew they would be impossible. Well, in the year 2014, a WWE fan found a complete script for the Monday Night Raw show, a script that had been left behind. And the fan, after not being able to catch up with him, took a picture of it. After that, the fan shared the photos on an online wrestling forum. The images showed the layout, the order in which Raw had been prepared, exactly as it was. In the script, you could see who the producer of each match was, how long each match was supposed to last, and the exact lines that each wrestler had to say in their respective segment. Or if not, just look at this from Lana, it's hard to resist. The good thing about this is that it's already been forgotten by the company, and it was never found out who left that script out in plain sight for everyone. Because otherwise we would already know where that employee would have ended up. From WWE number 2, Worried Alive. There have only been 5 Buried Alive matches in WWE history. The winner is the one who manages to give their opponent a real beating, throw them into the grave, and then signal for the machine to start dumping dirt, and then signal for the machine to start dumping the dirt, necessary so the wrestler can bury their opponent alive. Over the years, many questions and doubts have arisen regarding this match stipulation. Is the wrestler really buried alive? Will he be able to breathe? Where does the wrestler go while he's being covered with dirt? What does he do at that moment when a ton of dirt starts falling on top of him? And another endless questions? Well, the big secret of this struggle is that the wrestler, after falling into the pit, tries to take refuge in a secret passage that's next to where the wrestler is. Well, there's a sliding door that the wrestler can go through without any obstacle, and thus take refuge in a place where the earth doesn't reach. There is no doubt that there's a lot of planning for this kind of match, especially so that it turns out well, since you could say that the wrestler's life is at risk at this moment. Number 1. The secret of the cameras. WWE makes every move of the superstars, every move performed inside or outside the ring, look much more real. much more dramatic. With the incredible camera shots, sometimes WWE changes the camera angles in a matter of seconds to make the hits look much more impressive. This time, once again, a fan close to the front rows recorded with his cell phone and let us know how these incredible camera shots are filmed. On a live episode of Monday Night Raw, Seth Rollins grabbed a chair and brutally attacked Drew McIntyre with chair shots. The fan, with his cell phone, recorded the cameraman crouching, moving up and down to try to capture the moment as quickly as possible. Well, if this cameraman had stayed still, maybe the action wouldn't have looked so raw. Since every time that fan moved the camera quickly, it made each hit look even more brutal.